1. And we are here now. And maybe I should probably turn off the fishing game. Let me go ahead and do that because it's covering my face. Normally I would.
You don't want to be a fishing game for the stream?
Oh, I wouldn't mind that, but it would cover so much of the beautiful art from this visual novel, and I couldn't do that to the visual novel. Like, my face is okay, not the visual novel.
We gotta clarify where the priorities are.
There, exactly. So as a heads up, I'm using the streaming PC again. Normally I would try to stream this on my actual PC so that the jumping. Why am I forgetting? I've been forgetting the names of so many things. I swear, I feel like I have like Alzheimer's or something. But whatever.
No.
Fujitech. So unfortunately, Aaron won't be bouncing around every time they are speaking, which I know is such a big part of the viewing experience. But at least she's like right there, just by my side.
I'm just gonna stare creepily and stilly into your souls the whole time.
I'm the crep around here, so that's my job. In fact, if anything, you're there to make sure that I don't act out of line.
That's what me and my little wand are there for.
It's not there to cast magic, it's to stab me.
Like, hey, get back in line.
Mm-hmm. All right, with that said, I do believe we will get Hisono Kami, aka Kanye, in sometime. We'll have to see, and hopefully, if Nancy is finishing up her recording session, she might join us as well. As far as where we were at, let me go ahead and double check exactly. I think we had actually just met Aoko's sister.
Yeah.
And we were kind of in the middle of that, and she had just left. Aoko and Alice came in and figured out that is exactly what happened. And I think they were not too thrilled, but they understood that this was kind of their fault. So we're moving on from that end, and we're just going to go ahead and go with it. But before we do that, I'm pretty sure people who have been watching this series are familiar already, but just in case, Aaron, if you could go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi there, my name's Aaron, aka Aaron Cerise. I'm a somewhat on hiatus content creator. I've worked with Balance on a few other projects. I've done podcasts and YouTube. You can find my stuff at youtube.com/Aaron Cerise.
Yeah, great. And there is a project that she is also involved that has been slow at work, but hopefully we should be able to release, hopefully in a couple months. We'll have to see. I'll have to bother some people.
Yeah.
What?
Yay, someone who remembers the SIF days.
An OG, yes, definitely it is an OG. But yes, with that said, I'm glad to have you here. And let us continue from where we last left. I will go ahead and go. No, you're the guest. I will have you do the narration, and we'll go with the feminine voices. I'll have you go for as well, unless they become too frequent, and then I'll take over. And then, of course, I'll take over Sojiro.
Sure, I'll just take a quick drink of water, and then we'll get going.
All right, sounds good.
All right. The curtain of night had already fallen.
There we go.
Not even an hour had passed since Toko left the estate, and Sojiro was feeling the distance between him and the girls. Aoko and Alice felt much the same way about Toko Aozaki, who seemed more elusive than a phantom.
Real quick, it sounds like there's a little bit of distortion in your audio. I'm not sure what that is.
It could be the cord. This cord is a little funky sometimes. Hang on, let me double check my settings.
Okay. because it's slight, but it's noticeable.
Is it still there now?
Doesn't sound like it. Let's continue on and see.
Yeah, let me know here if it comes back. I just jiggled the cord.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that's Aoko. Yep, that's
Okay.
pretty sure. It's too excitable to be Alice.
Anyway, Sojiro, you at least understand that she's our enemy, right? If so, stop arguing with me and let sleeping bears lie. Ooh, that could also be physical from my throat, maybe.
Oops, my bad.
Aoko seemed absolutely certain in her assessment.
This was the one that I accidentally skipped over.
Oh, I see. Although after meeting you, she must have realized that you have nothing to do with us. So I doubt we need to worry about her going after you. Aoko seemed absolutely certain in her assessment, as if to proclaim that Sojiro had dodged a bullet. Strangely, she was placing her trust in her... Excuse me. Strangely, she was placing her trust in her enemy's sense of reason.
Really? Are you sure about that? I hope you're right.
Really. So relax. She never paid any attention to things that were no... Why am I missing words? Excuse me. Really. So relax. She never paid any attention to things that were of no use to her anyway.
Okay. If you say so, Awazaki, then that's good enough for me. Oh, right. Speaking of things she has no use for, Toko took your teacup. The nice Severes one.
She did what? And you stood by and let her?
I did. So she really was stealing it after all, huh?
Sojiro nodded sagely while Aoko fumed. She wondered where his serious manner and tone had gone. Sojiro's frustrating absent-mindedness had returned. It had to be the Sevres Cup too, my favorite one! Aoko's fist trembled violently, but as much as she wanted to, she knew better than to plant it into Sojiro's carefree face. Not that he was even capable, but even if Sojiro did try to stop Toko, it would have gone tragically for him. Nothing to do now, I guess. She always did have a habit of stealing my things. Always wanting what others have. I guess old habits die hard.
Isn't everybody like that? As children?
He wondered aloud, curiously. Maybe. So many of my crayons and dolls she took as she pleased. And broke them, too. Sojiro felt his heart jump into his mouth. The ominous foreshadowing was not lost on him.
What do you think that was?
Because she made a hobby out of taking my property and smashing it to pieces, obviously. Once she had her eye on something, I had to kiss it goodbye.
Huh.
Listening to Aoko, Sojiro recalled his conversation with Toko. He hoped he was imagining it, but he vaguely recalled her declaring Sojiro Shizuki as someone's property.
Ooh.
Foreshadowing indeed.
And that is troubling.
Sojiro's face turned grim, not unlike a detective at the scene of a crime. A scene which left no traces of evidence or clues as to how the case could be solved. Right? She was a terrible sister, the worst. Unaware of Sojiro's turmoil, Aoko calmly sipped her tea.
Might I comment? This teacup looks fabulous. Holy cow. Oh. I'm now just remembering something. And I still just It makes me so mad. A long time ago on AmiAmi.com, they were selling Witch on the Holy Night teacup set, and I didn't pre-order it, and I can never get it now. It's so many because it was so cute looking. Okay, let me see if I can find it.
The fear of missing out came true.
Okay, so that is the design right there. And you know, it's fine, but someone took a picture of it. It looks so good. Look at that.
Aww. Baby.
That's the Robin from that follows Alice around.
Yeah.
But man, what a beautiful teacup and base. Like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. It makes me angry every time I think about it. But anyway.
Sojiro watched as Alko shrugged her shoulders before looking over to the drawing room clock. No matter how heavy the mood, time kept on ticking. Oh, who's speaking?
Oh, okay. I guess it's Sojiro. Gloomy days ahead, I guess.
Muttered the undeniable victim of today's injustices. Alko looked ready to move on from the incident, adding, "Probably. But right now, I'm just looking forward to tonight's dinner." Alice seemed to second that opinion with her silence. Comfortable and relaxed, neither of them seemed to have any intention of leaving the sofa to prepare food. Tonight was supposed to be his night off from work. At least until midnight. But Sojiro knew that Sojiro knew that until the clock struck midnight, he would be serving on hand and foot the two ladies of the house. For one, it would take at least another hour to prepare something to eat. And there was no way the exhausted Alko and Alice would stand for that. So the only other option, in the end, was to have something delivered.
Wait, hold on. I've got the perfect thing. Oh my gosh. Maybe I should have taken Toko up on her offer after all.
Fancy. Sojiro opened his wallet as he second-guessed his situation. His eyes settled on the third and final 10,000 yen bill in his wallet. It stared back at him forlornly, reluctant to leave its home. With a heavy heart, he bid it farewell.
Poor Sojiro. Alright, now we're on to the next chapter, and man, what amazing cover art for the chapter, huh?
Yeah, and title.
Unfortunately, I just see howling as the gooner thing to do whenever a new character drops in ZZZ.
Really? Is that what they call it?
I mean, kind of.
Like the fandom, I mean?
Howling? No, it's just what they... there's like that wolf howling, when they see a hot lady and...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's all I mean.
Okay. I think of the old 80s movie sort of series. I guess there were only 2 of them, I think. This everyday tale started like any other. The morning sun alerted Sojiro that a day of work lay ahead. Specifically, the gardens needed tending to. And an unkempt garden made for an unhappy Sojiro. Luckily, today was his day off from all his part-time jobs. It was the perfect opportunity to get his hands dirty. There was one problem, however. The mansion's grounds were vast. Not only had the courtyard been left to run wild, but the area around the front door had been neglected too. To tend to these problems thoroughly, he would have to work on them week in, week out.
Alright. First, let's level things out.
In an ideal world, his task would only take a day, but for its enormity. For the moment, Sojiro decided to set foot into the mansion's wilderness and evict the weeds. Wasting none of the early light, he started tackling the ones around the mansion. By his estimation, he could clear the forecourt, courtyard, and backyard, then take a small rest.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
Sure. What's gotten into him?
Okay,
Beats me.
I'll play as a Aoko so that you're not reading too much.
Sure.
Since you already read that one, we'll just go on.
It was just before noon in the sunroom. Alice had come down, book in hand, to find Alco sitting down with a fashion magazine and elegantly sipping tea. Through the window, she could see the crouched figure of Sojiro shuffling by.
He's been at it all morning. Hunched over since I saw him first thing from my bedroom window. I told him to clean the incinerator too. Any objections?
Not really. He always works so hard, even in the cold.
Alice quietly sat down. Her teacup had been placed on the table for her. She poured herself some tea and proceeded to open her book. The two sat passing the time in silence. Having happened to have the same idea, a nice, relaxing cup of tea in the sunroom. With their evening roles decided, there was no need for idle chatter. Alco stared out the window, intermittently turning her gaze to her magazine. Alice was immersed in a book on rune magecraft, occasionally tilting her head up as if to recall something. As if by unspoken agreement, in unison they pressed their teacups to their lips and glanced outside. To the two girls, Sojiro appeared as if he were an animal in a zoo. Neither was interested in lending a hand.
It's so on point for these girls.
Despite his sluggish movement, he was making good progress. As Alco's attention turned back to the sunroom, her eyes met Alice's. Alice returned her gaze to her book, though moments later, her head did something again.
My boy, holy cow.
The Speed Force has taken him. Clearing her throat, she attempted to focus on reading. It was no surprise that Alice admired Sojiro's diligence. Not even 30 minutes had passed before he had cleared the courtyard of its unsightly weeds.
30 minutes?
What?
No way. Not even a team could do that.
Without stopping once, the mysterious gardener left the courtyard, puffing clouds of white breath. The area he left behind was spotless.
That was... Oh, I'll go. Has he done this before? Oh.
Alice... I guess it was. Well, Alice muttered after scanning over his work. A stalwart, Sojiro worked confidently and ceaselessly. She was impressed, like she was watching a scene from a great movie. But before long, she grew irked. Why would he waste his energy like that, she thought.
Maybe this is a typo, because
Maybe, because why is the image on Alco?
and like I feel like that sort of commentary and description matches Alco more than Alice.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. Alice looked at the clock.
2 times in a row? Maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
If he starts now, it'll be evening before he's done with the incinerator.
Actually, he already took care of it. I watched him do it from upstairs. I didn't want him breaking it, so I gave him some pointers. You know, I yelled at him for so long from my window, my room almost froze over.
It was safe to assume Alco had come to the sunroom to escape her cold room. Between barking orders from a window and cleaning in the cold, it was clear who had the harder job.
Did Shizuki have anything to say?
Yeah, a lot. But I couldn't really hear him.
In other words, his complaints fell on deaf ears. With nothing else to discuss, the two resumed their reading. Yeah, nothing else you can be doing, girls. To be fair, the only thing they asked him to do was the incinerator. He did the rest himself.
That is true. That is true.
The ever so tense silence was broken by Sojiro entering the house after finishing his cleaning. He stared at the two of them, displeased.
Warm enough in here, Aozaki? Warmer than outside. Unless you're walking the halls. What made you decide to take care of the gardens anyway?
Sojiro's subtle jibe had failed to find its target. He had no chance of winning, and so just hung his shoulders in defeat.
It's so cold out today. The snow's probably going to fall tomorrow, so I thought I should tidy up while I could. I didn't think I'd have to work on the incinerator too.
He sounded resentful, but his problem was not with the additional work. If anything, he was glad to do it. What he did not care for was how nobody had even bothered to lend a hand. You did this yourself, sir!
Yeah, at that point, he has nothing to complain about. That is... okay. So what? We all need to use it. Hey, seeing as you're in a generous mood, vacuum the upstairs corridor, will you? Oh, and that brace for the beech tree out back is on its last legs. Put that toolbox in your room in the attic to good use. And, once you're done with that, come to my room. I have a bunch of things I'd like you to throw into the incinerator.
Okay, now... Hence why she made him clean the incinerator. Cruel, but clever.
And what are you going to do while I'm doing all that? No plans, really. Maybe I'll play a little guitar.
Alco thought hard about how to spend her afternoon. Yet the thought of cleaning did not cross her mind, as had always been the case. No, it was not out of spite that she did not think to help clean. It was because the word cleaning was not in her vocabulary. Sojiro knew exactly why the mansion was in the state it was in. Still, that did not change the fact the corridor upstairs was very long. And Alco was not lying about how cold it was. Inside was not much different than outside.
You really have no intention of helping me, do you? I mean, I do enjoy cleaning, but I don't know. Don't you even feel a little bit guilty using a roommate like this? Or do you just not feel guilt at all?
As usual, he might have gone too far. His remarks had hit too close to home. Alko closed her magazine and turned to face him. Infuriated, she glared, her sharp blue eyes piercing into him. Sojiro knew he had not said anything unjust, but he always backed down first.
Sojiro, let me explain it one more time. Okay.
He replied automatically, straightening his back in response to Alko's cold, calm tone.
Don't be mistaken. We're not letting you stay here out of kindness. We're putting up with you because we have to.
Alko did not mince her words.
Man, the sudden shift in tone.
Mm.
You could feel the coldness.
Sojiro nodded in defeat.
So, I'm basically a pet. Exactly. And not a very useful one at that.
Alko responded, already tired of the conversation. While Sojiro had little room to counter, he still tried.
Last time I checked, most pets don't have to buy food or pay rent. Did you say something? Nothing. I'm just a dumb mutt barking up the wrong tree.
He raised his hand dismissively, knowing he could not win. To Alko's ears, his attempt at self-deprecation sounded facetious.
You do understand the position you're in, right? Yeah. One where I do all the work.
Alko grinned at her pet's obedience. As long as he knew his place, that was all that mattered to her.
I feel so bad for Sojiro,
I
man.
know! Alko, you're basically abusing this boy. She seemed to be extremely satisfied with his response.
I don't have a care. Wait, who is that? Wait,
Ah.
this might be Toko.
Oh. Her playful smile darkened, as did Sojiro's expression.
Oh, it is Aoko. I see. Awasaki! I can't breathe. You know, if I keep this up, you'll never be able to complain again. Shall we give it a try?
He shook his head, his expression growing more and more grim.
It's a smart choice. I don't want to see you suffocate, if I can help it.
Jesus.
Aoko,
The grating sound subsided. Sojiro gingerly touched his throat. The collar that had suddenly tightened around his neck returned to its normal size.
Do you have any idea how painful it is to suffocate? It's excruciating. I told you that's what your collar was for. You're always so naive. So, I took the opportunity to give it a test run. Now you know your place. Anyway, chores. You're wasting daylight. Okay. So that's what the sun was trying to tell me this morning.
Sojiro left the sunroom, his shoulders slumped and his tail between his legs. Alko watched him leave before turning to her magazine as if nothing had happened.
God, girl.
I guess she did literally try to kill him once. It's not the worst thing she's done.
Yeah.
Is it? Maybe.
Like at
Mentally,
that point,
it might be worse.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, just kill him then, for God's sake.
At that point, just kill the boy.
Yeah. Oh,
Alice paid no attention. None of that had anything to do with her. With Sojiro gone, the room once again fell silent.
hey Kurosaki. I shall drink the remainder of my tea.
As the clock ticked on, Alice suddenly stopped flipping through her book.
Any reason why you push him so hard?
She asked as though talking to herself. Alko replied without so much as looking up.
Nope. We're just going to erase his memories in the end anyway. Why get his hopes up? Actually, Krutsuki, are you available to voice some characters? Because we got some feminine characters and I can only be as feminine as I can, you know?
I mean, you're doing a good job so far.
Why, thank you!
Oh,
And for those of you who don't know, Kurotsuki, it was the voice of Stella in the Valhalla voiceover project.
Yay!
Yeah, the Kurotsuki, imagine. So,
Say's best friend Stella!
yeah, if anything, Aaron and Kurotsuki are like a proxy best friends. But cool. I guess we'll see Kurosaki in here in a moment, which also means I will need to prepare her PNG, which I don't think I have. This is what happens when I am using the streaming PC. It would be so nice. It would be so nice to be able to use like the Fujitech on a streaming PC, but that's just not really all that possible.
no.
Nah, unless I have I need to route the audios a little bit differently, because right now the streaming PC is getting all of the audio from this computer through one source, so the stream source essentially. And so if I were to use the Discord in my streaming PC, you'd hear not only me but everything else too. So that wouldn't be great, you know. But eventually I'll have some sort of hardware that can actually allow me to do that, but that's expensive. That's like 200 minimum.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, exactly. So it will happen eventually, but just not right now. So, oh well. I'll just have to ask her for a PNG. Do you have a PNG I can use? I just had a thought that come up during PAX. Kurotsuki was what was it? The Bang Boo for ZZZ. So I thought about maybe even using that.
Oh yeah.
As her avatar, but nah. In any case,
Good to keep in mind as a backup.
yeah. Let's go ahead and continue on while we wait for Stella / Kurotsuki.
Excuse me. Obscure as ever, but sincere in her own way. Sincerely awful.
Yeah.
When you put it like that, I suppose you are right.
Alice could not believe she had forgotten about the situation. Silently, she looked up from her book and gazed outside once again. The courtyard through the window reminded her of where she lived a decade ago. Nothing could compare to the beauty of those gardens. But if that was the case, why did the scenery make her feel nostalgic? All Sojiro had done was take care of the gardens with the goodness of his own heart. In only half a day, he had achieved so much.
Superhuman speeds.
Yeah. Sojiro's wilderness powers include hedge trimming, I guess.
I guess so.
It was Christmas Eve, and snow had started to fall.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
Its timing was too good, as though it had waited for that day specifically. The cold, bustling main street seemed bright and vibrant under the layer of frosty white. Reindeer statues illuminated the surroundings. Children danced merrily to jingle bells. People walked along the brick road, smiling broadly. These festivities, however, had not reached the mansion on... Oh, excuse me. Christmas Eve sleepies, I guess.
Mm.
These festivities had not reached the mansion on the hill. Silence enveloped the isolated building. The shadow of the snow-covered woodland grew longer, beckoning in the darkness. People returned to the warmth of their homes, knowing a bitter night lay ahead. Oh. Something had been amiss in the mansion all day. Perhaps it was the calm before the storm. 2 days had passed since Toko Aozaki had revealed herself. Aoko and Alice spent more and more time locked in their rooms. Mealtimes had grown noticeably quieter. With their roles decided, they were too busy with their own jobs to worry about each other. On this day, the two had been relaxing in the drawing room since morning. The mood was calm. Well, mostly at least. Sojiro was fretting that tonight would be the same.
The snow just couldn't wait till tomorrow, could it?
He aimed his words towards the girls on the sofa.
Quick, trivia. What song or what piece is this? Do you know the name of it?
Yes.
I actually learned how to play this, and it's been so long I've forgotten. But every once in a while, like if I play just the right notes, I'll remember like the first half of it. But then the second half, I can never remember. You know, I actually...
It's true. I mostly remember how it starts.
I actually first heard this song, or piece rather, from an anime called Sister Princess. I only came across... I know, what a... And this was when I was a teenager. This was actually one of the few first animes I had ever watched, aside from the stuff from Toonami. I just wanted something to watch. And it was one of the free shows that you could watch on Comcast.
Yeah.
So I just put that on. And then now looking back, like, oh, that was a harem anime.
Yeah. I never saw it, but I always heard like people talk about it in like Shutters when they mentioned it back in the day.
Yeah, it was... Yeah. Like, the weird thing is that I don't think he was their biological brother. It honestly, it made no sense.
Of course not. They never are.
It was just like, oh yeah, you have a mansion and these are your sisters now. It's like, what the heck? What? Why? But anyway, one of the girls was playing this piece and I liked it so much. But I forgot about it, and then I got a piano CD, and this piece was there. And that had given me enough motivation to learn how to play the song, and I learned. And then years later, I forgot. But it is a super simple but really relaxing piece to play. I enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Anyway, moving on.
He aimed his words towards the girls on the sofa, despite knowing they would be ignored. Whether the snow fell today, tomorrow, or not at all, it did not affect them. The snow just meant a white Christmas. Aoko remained silent. She wasn't ignoring him, per se. She just had other things on her mind. Sojiro knew this, but still cast a lonely glance around the sunroom.
There we go.
The courtyard he had cleaned only a few days ago was hidden by a layer of white. The falling snow would stop every so often, but then resume again as if teasing Sojiro. By the next morning, the courtyard would be a winter wonderland. Alko and Alice sipped tea in an effort to fight the cold. In fact, that was all they were doing.
I think this is probably, it's probably Sojiro. You know, Toko's hair was darker than yours, Awazaki. I've never seen such beautiful red hair. Shame it was so short. Hey, Sojiro, short hair is really cute. I used to be on the same boat, but then I changed my ways and I realized, man, this is one of the few times you'll see me down bad, but short hair is hot. Anyway.
Sojiro rambled on, not expecting a response. However,
Safi's like, I'ma smack this motherfucker. Understandable.
and he said, isn't this like the 90s? Short hair was in.
That's true. It really was. Then again, maybe it's different for Japan. So I don't.
Maybe.
Hard to say now, actually, but still, he deserves to be smacked.
Mm-hmm. Should I take Aozaki back?
Yeah.
Or should we wait for...
She will be here as soon as she said. She's just grabbing. Excuse me. Grabbing tea, and she'll message me when she's back.
Okay.
So for now, let's go ahead.
Sure. Her hair was cut short? Aoko's expression went from nonchalant to its usual sharpness. What do you mean short? You are talking about her hair, right?
Yeah, even shorter than Alice's. Is that a big deal?
No, she just used to have longer hair than mine.
And the funny thing about that is that the Aoko that we know today, the first Aoko, like, you think her hair is long now, but her hair in like her ultimate form or whatever, the form that we first knew her hair goes down to like past knee length.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. I need to show you guys. I
don't doubt it based on like the art style of things that came out around the time that Tsukihime did.
Yep. Melty blood. There it is. Oh, it's a small image, but this should give you a good idea of just how long her hair is.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
So she really cut it all off. Okay, no. So she really cut it all off. Alko spoke in a grave tone. Showing slight interest, Alice turned to Sojiro.
What's so bad about her getting a haircut? Does it affect you in any way, Awazaki?
Well, yeah, it does. As we have nothing to do until nightfall, I suppose I'll explain. You're lucky. If you hadn't said anything, we'd have been oblivious when fighting her.
Alko knowingly glanced at Alice, her expression suggesting she was treating her. She was also likely seeking approval. Alice remained stoic as ever, her expression showing neither approval nor disapproval.
How can I put this? Mages can use their hair as a weapon. For the longest time, hair and eyes have been vital to magecraft, especially in my sister's case. The more colorful the eyes, the better. The longer the hair, the higher the quality. Hair has the same qualities as the body, and when grown over many years, it becomes a strong base component. That's why I'm growing mine out. Looking after it is a pain sometimes, but I like styling it.
Sojiro glanced furtively at Alice, wondering if the same held true for her. Maybe Alice had cut it because it was a hassle to maintain. It sounded stupid, but then again, this was Alice. Sojiro nodded to himself.
So that's good for you then, right, Awazaki? I mean, that Toko's hair got short hair, or that. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, that Toko's got short hair.
If she's used all her hair before coming here, then yes. Long hair can be used in tons of ways. I can only use it to temporarily reinforce magecraft, but my sister can use it to complement longer-lasting spells. With all those thoughts and memories in that hair, it's like having a mage clone. You can even use it on a dead cat or dog, reviving them and making them the mage's familiar.
Forgot about that.
Yeah. Familiars with no previous magical energy, like said dog or cat, can acquire magic circuits, all thanks to the hair. The reanimated creature becomes something entirely different. They can even speak and take human form. Their behavior changes too, to something resembling a regular mage. Right, Alice? Her last words came with a mocking smile. Alice silently ignored it.
Do you think Alice used a lot of her hair on her what was it that she called it? The things that she's used a lot. Like the flat snark and the robin and everything.
They sound like different things, maybe. Because they're not familiars, they're something else, right?
Yeah, that's true. They were man, I keep forgetting these terms, but
Yeah, same.
So Toko has familiars like Alice?
I think that's a safe bet. She must have been growing her hair for over 20 years. She could have an army of powerful familiars.
Okay, I think we've got Kurotsuki. Alright. With that said, I will go ahead and start adding her Pung here.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that has actually been a thing in like witch folklore for a long time anyway, using your hair and whatnot.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hey!
Hello.
Hello.
It's been a long time. Holy cow.
It has. How is this going? How have you been?
Been alright. We're desperately trying to actually get this constantly going. And it's been good. Like, this visual novel is really great, and I think you might enjoy it too, because it honestly has a really good story. And now you are covering the entire screen.
No,
That's okay.
Oh, Jesus. Hello. I see everybody now.
Just like, hello.
I am here.
But yes, this is Kurotsuki, the one who was Stella from the Valhalla voiceover project. Oh, it's Hayes! What's up?
Did he just call me scary? Oh, there.
How you doing, brother? But yes, how much of like the Type Moon universe do you know, Kurotsuki?
I've solely dedicated my soul to Faith.
Okay,
I know
so
a little bit of Tsukihime though.
yeah, so this one is kind of an offshot of it. So you know how Shiki has this mentor that he had named Awazaki Aoko? The one with the long red hair? This is her story when she was a kid.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so to kind of catch you up on the story, she's living with a girl named Alice. Alice is like her senior as far as magic goes. She's still trying to learn magic. And while they were trying to do some magic, this guy named Sojiro found them. And so Aoko's like, oh no, a normal commoner saw me using magic. Time to kill him. Except she couldn't kill him because he's just somehow resilient. And so she's like, well, now I feel bad. Now I won't kill him, but I need to put him in his place. So she'll like abuse him physically, mentally, which is
Ah,
horrible. But there's kind of a good reason. But as Aaron and I had said at one point, at that point, just kill him.
You put him out of his misery.
they put him out of misery. All right, okay.
But now we have discovered that the main antagonist is actually Aoko's sister, Toko. And so now I'm skipping over a lot, but there's a lot to go over. So I'm trying to speed run this as much as
No,
possible.
you're
So
good.
now Toko recently visited, and she saw Sojiro alone. And so things are getting really bad because it's like she was able to go into their house freely without having to worry. So it feels invasive, you know. And
Yeah.
So now Sojiro had mentioned that Toko had her hair really short, and this is surprising Aoko because for witches, hair has a lot of magical properties, especially for when you grow it long. And now we're finding out that like you could use it to even reanimate dead corpses and have a familiar out of it. So we're now just going over that. So
Okay.
this character now is Aoko. She's very spunky, very sarcastic, a lot of energy. So when her lines come up, I would like for you to try voicing her.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then-
Spunky and
Spunky, sassy anime girl.
yeah.
Spunky. That's the got it.
So just you in general.
Oh. Okay, good. All right, I got it. Wait, so
Okay.
did you just finish this line?
Yep. So her line just finished.
Okay.
And Aaron, I'll have you play as Alice, and I'll continue being Sojiro. And then when we switch it up,
Sure.
I'll reassign everyone.
Sure.
Alright.
Sorry, who did you say was doing narration? Am I continuing that?
Yes, please.
All right.
Uh,
The fight at the amusement park. Just the thought of Alice Kunji releasing flat snark sent a shiver down Sojiro's spine.
That's a term to hear immediately, not knowing the context.
yeah.
Wow.
The oil of the moon had been a unique familiar, out of this world.
Oh, so they are under the category of familiars.
Mm,
Is that her, right?
yes.
Hey, don't worry about it. She couldn't create a familiar that could destroy Misaki or anything. Still, a familiar created with a hair that long would be incredibly powerful. Mages that use their hair, though, they need to reset one of the 3 pillars from the beginning. They have to grow the hair again, making familiars easy, but not leading them.
As Alco spoke, her mood visibly improved, as though she had made a breakthrough.
Dogs and cats.
Tilting his head to the side. He could not imagine a world where dogs and cats were so powerful. It's strange. Toko is a puppet master. I wonder why she would lower herself to make familiars.
That's an interesting line. To think that being a puppet master is like much more intensive as far as mastery goes, compared to like familiars.
Mm.
She probably has nobody to help her, and she wouldn't ask for assistance with a personal matter concerning the family. Actually, maybe the puppet at the amusement park wasn't made from her hair.
Now that you mention it, you did say that it seemed highly customized. Its curse-based perpetual motion, coiled arms, fin shot, the depths of its obsession. It's unlikely Toko created the puppet from scratch.
Meaning,
Sorry, I just saw it on the screen.
Toko's not the type to put herself into her creations. She might consider doing it for a perfect replica, but the ones we destroyed weren't even faint copies of her. Alko, did that puppet have the same power as Toko?
No way, not even close.
Then it would not have been made using her hair. Meaning we have to keep our eyes open for a familiar fused with her magical energy.
So, in your expert opinion, you think that her familiar could be stronger than my sister herself?
If it's not, then what's the point of creating one? She needs help. It's two of us versus one of her.
So she's going to attack with the familiar at the same time. That makes sense. It would at least be a fair fight. Well, fairer. When it comes to familiars, I think you have the upper hand.
Alice had never been defeated by a familiar. She sighed at Alko's overconfidence.
Alko, even if she utilizes her 20-year stockpile, she can only use small animals as vessels.
Holy crap, 20-year stockpile?
Yeah, so that's how long she'd been growing her hair out.
Dear Lord.
If Toko was to prepare a familiar as her trump card,
Don't you say it. No sister of mine would stoop that low.
Alko and Alice stared at each other. The conversation had returned to the drawing room, but the subject matter was not for the faint of heart.
I suppose. Still, nothing hunts down a human better than a human. Toko may not have raised the dead, but she probably has something just as powerful up her sleeve.
Yeah, okay. I admit, geniuses can get stuck in their own world sometimes. Whatever corpse she throws at me, I'll be ready.
Was that a
I
helicopter?
got a
on you?
helicopter. I'm sorry.
The funny thing is that like it actually sounded like gunshots. I was like, whoa, Aoko's going through a huge flashback.
Oh no.
No, it's been circling my area for a few minutes now. I don't know why.
They're trying to find you, I guess.
Now.
Alko nodded reluctantly at Alice's directness. Needless to say, Sojiro was completely lost.
I don't quite follow. Why are you both convinced the familiar is dead? Let's see, who is
who's
this
this?
one?
Seems like Alko?
Yeah, I think it's Aoko.
Okay.
So it's
Uh.
starting from here.
Because living partners aren't familiars. They're co-conspirators. Familiars can't live with a mage to sustain them. Still, they're the perfect foil. Strong-willed and smart enough to compensate for their mage's shortcomings. Everything you want from a great familiar. Let's be real. Who wouldn't want to bring that kind of partner back to life?
Completely obedient and capable of compensating for their mage's weaknesses. Sojiro felt that a familiar was a little different than himself.
Now then. My sister has always been a rune user, so we can somewhat predict her tactics. Her trump card, which we need to be worried about, is probably a familiar. And it's likely she used up all her automata?
Mhm.
Automata, right?
Hmm.
And it's likely she used up all her automata already.
Alko spoke directly to Alice, looking for confirmation. Alice nodded in agreement.
So we stick to the plan. Let's call it a night. I'm gonna make her pay for all the crap she's put us through for the last month.
Alko clenched teeth and balled her fists. It all seemed like nothing more than sibling rivalry. In fact, that's probably all it was. Looking at Alko, Sojiro let out a sigh of relief. With what happened with Toko and how they reacted to her visit, The atmosphere had been deathly tense. For now, though, Aoko seemed much calmer. He took comfort in the thought that perhaps the sisters would just bury the hatchet. Even if Aoko and Toko were not sisters, he would not want to see what would happen if they fought. The hands of the clock turned gently. Approaching Judgment Night, a merciless silence would soon come to mock Sojiro's complacency.
All right, now it's time to switch it up. I will go ahead and go with the narration. By the
Okay.
way, well done, Aaron. I'm always
Yay!
such a fan of your narration. And this time, we'll have Aaron play as Sojiro and Aoko.
Okay.
Actually, no, we'll have you continue as Alice. And then, Kurotsuki, I'll still have you play as Aoko. Sound
Okay.
good?
Yeah, you've been doing it great at Aoko, especially considering you're coming into this blind.
Mhm.
Give me the theme and I will do my best.
Well,
Yeah.
like I said, you are just as sassy as her, so.
That's why you put me yes, sir. That's why.
As night appeared, two things vanished. The first was the whimsical snowfall. The second was the lights of the mansion on the top of the hill. Aoko and Alice were nowhere to be seen inside. Only Sojiro remained. It was the night of Christmas Eve. Though Aoko and Alice had yet to find Toko, they knew everything would be concluded over the course of this day and the next. Christmas comes but once a year. It was a singular time for endings and new beginnings. In Japan, the modern holiday dated back only about 100 years and celebrated Christ's birth only in name. With all its latter-day trappings, it was neither a pure homage nor a corruption of the festival that inspired it. Regardless, there was a significant increase in the land's mana during festivals. Such charged distortions were a boon to a mage's craft, be it creative or destructive. Toko Awazaki sought to destroy the local sigils, which gathered and properly cycled the magical energy of the land and its people. Sojiro was able to gather that much from Aoko and Alice's conversation. Toko had already claimed 3 sigils. Only 2 remained. Any further loss would signal Aoko and Alice's defeat. In order to protect the remaining ones, they had to split up. Aoko lacked power, so she needed to borrow a ploy. That's what it was called.
That's
a
the
ploy.
word we were looking for earlier.
A ploy from Alice and head to the Tokawa Sigil, which boasted the greatest local energy supply. Alice would go fully equipped to the sigil in Yashirogi. Free from the constraints of civilized society, magecraft is most powerful at midnight. The young witch and their apprentice mage wished each other luck before leaving the mansion. It was almost 10 at night. After the girls set out, the first 2 hours passed quickly. When Aoko was ready to head off, Sojiro walked with her to the foyer. Neither had spoken a word to each other. She had departed without showing any sign of fear. It was difficult to tell whether she did not want to get him involved, or whether she did not want to see him a worthy ally in combat. The thought stuck with him. He let out a long sigh. Not out of dejection or frustration. It was a mechanical, emotionless breath. He sat on the near frozen floor, staring vacantly up at the skylight. Moonlight peeked through the clouds. He imagined the moonlight bouncing off the town's powdery blanket and illuminating the night. But he would not find himself downtown. Watching from the sidelines was his role to begin with. His roommate and he lived worlds apart. He could not keep up with them, and if he did not show the same kind of will, he would remain on the sidelines. However,
I get it. I'm not needed anymore.
Sojiro looked up at the moon. Somewhere deep inside, he felt a trickle of sadness. Veiled in white and cloaked in darkness, the park seemed like a forgotten memory. Not a soul was in sight. The night felt far more enigmatic than usual, yet the air was clean enough to drink. Though only a sliver of moonlight peered through the clouds, it lit up the entire world. In those moments, a young girl's footsteps echoed, trampling the still white silence under a midnight sun. The pale moon illuminated the inky blue sky. Only a few streetlights and an incongruous phone booth betrayed signs of civilization. A girl appeared, dressed in black. Against the snowy landscape, the figure of Alice Kuonji was unmistakable. Pure black, deeper than even the night, were her overcoat, gloves, the hat, even her hair and eyes. Nothing stirred, for a time. Not Alice, nor the white scenery. The world was a still painting of a snowy field. Only time moved, gradually darkening the lights in the park, and eventually the nearby homes as well. Yachirogi was a more modern and developed town than Misaki. Though the park was located in the center of town, it had become a blind spot. It had been overlooked by developers and carried no commercial value. A few houses encircled the park. The streetlights turned off at midnight. It was a white night. People, even machines, were fast asleep.
They really should be using like an N dash or an M dash.
Yeah. They really should have. It looks like I got here early. Or, sorry, that's not me.
It looks like I got here early.
Alice whispered, watching the streetlights slowly fade. She thought she heard a dog howling in the distance. Perhaps it was howling at the moon. The howl reached deeper into the night than expected. A wolf, maybe? The phone rang. It was perhaps the first time it had hung since Sojiro moved into the mansion. I think it meant wrong. Hesitantly, he picked up the receiver and brought it to his ear. He heard nothing. He felt he had to say something, but could not think what. Maybe something like,
Hello, Konji residence?
or maybe,
You've reached the Aozaki residence.
while he was deep in thought, a voice as light as air came through the receiver. Trying to figure out. Alice, okay.
Shizuki.
Sojiro could barely hear the voice, but it was definitely Alice's.
Yes, is that you, Alice?
No response. The silence was as profound as the night, but for the sound of static from the receiver. After a long pause, Alice finally spoke.
Is Alko there?
No, she hasn't come back yet.
I see.
With a click, the call ended. Sojourner wondered if she had something to say, but could not respond in time.
Do they have cell phones? Sorry.
No.
No, this was
Period piece.
this was later into the I'm trying to remember. I think it was like mid 80s or early 90s.
Yeah.
It was that long ago.
89, 1990, somewhere around there.
Hmm.
I mean, there technically were probably early cell phones, but not. They were
No,
like bricks,
no.
and very few people
Mhm.
had them.
Slowly they advanced, carving through the fresh snow. There were so many. Where had they all come from? Dozens of feral dogs snarled at Alice, their eyes trained on her. The snow clung to the beast's mangy fur. Ugh.
Yep.
Their clenched fangs and bloodshot eyes hid a barely reined hunger that might burst forth like lightning at any moment. They yearned to taste her warm flesh and satiate their empty bellies. To them, the girl in black stood like a lighthouse in a stormy sea.
They hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Hungry boys.
She watched them, disinterested. It appeared that the Yashiroki sigil was the key target tonight. Not Tokawa, where Aoko had gone. Alice had always been unflappable, and the child's play before her was hardly about to change that. Her main enemy was not the dogs surrounding her, but the lone mage behind them, Toko Awazaki.
Oh, is this Alice or Toko talking?
This is
That
Alice.
sounds like Toko. Oh, Alice?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
What hideous taste. Is this what you've fallen to after these last several years? Not that I'm complaining. If this is who you really are, then Alzaki and I have nothing to worry about.
If this is Toko, I'll have you play her, Bonnie.
What's her personality like? Is she crazy? What is
She's Aoko's older sister.
she? Mhm.
She's very calculating and almost taunting in a way.
Mm.
And when things get down, she's very cold.
Also, she tall, sexy lady.
That
Okay.
too.
All right. Taunting, cold, very, very okay.
Don't forget tall and sexy.
All right.
And glasses. Don't forget glasses.
Glasses. Oh shit! Let me get some glasses.
Because that's totally a trait that that dictates a voice.
It
Toko.
affects it. You'd know.
True. I mean, I'm not the one who needs glasses, so who am I to say?
Okay. Okay. So she's laughing. Okay.
Okay. Toko laughed at the acerbic taunt.
My, such immovable spirit. Rest assured, Alice, I'm not doing this for fun.
Oh, she took off her glasses. That's right.
Oh,
Crunching through the fallen snow, Toko slowly came into view. She wore a moss green coat that contrasted sharply with Alice's garb. A silk scarf warmed her neck. She stood tall, her hair short, striking a more valiant posture than any young man. After all, the two standing here needed to be less like the shining moon and more like the darkness surrounding it. The barking abated. Like servants in a royal court, they averted their eyes from their ruler, lest their eyes and hearts be plucked out.
it's been too long, Alice.
It has. You look well, Toko.
They stood about 12 feet apart. No love had been lost between them. Just two enemies. One who was to be victorious, and one who was to fall.
So, How shall we do this, Alice? We have so much to catch up on. How have you been? There's so much I've been dying to tell you. You can spare 5 minutes to chat, can't you?
I'm afraid not. If I give you even the slightest quarter, you will steal it all.
The following events unfolded quickly. Boldly and without a second's thought, Alice pulled out a cat's bell from the seam of her mantle and dropped it. Diddle, diddle. I know.
I know.
The beginning of Alice Kuonji's Magecraft, the start to a night of fairy tales. Aoko favored a quick draw approach, like something from a western. However, Alice preferred sleight of hand. She used her target's blind spots against them, ending the game before they knew it had begun. The bell fell, like a coin into a fountain. Oh shit. Then, as it was about to strike, it shattered, disappearing without a trace.
Runes.
Correct. I spent the day carving characters into the park. The brick path meant it was easy to work. Ooh, wait, the brick path meant it was easy work, if a little time consuming. Look at the woods around here. Roughly a 1,200 square foot blank canvas. Impressive, isn't it? Right now, you and I are on top of 300,000 characters worth of runes.
Jeez.
Swallowing hard, Alice took a step back. Toko had carved runes all over the ground. Even in the area Diddle reacted to alone, there was a depressing amount of them. Had she truly carved them into the whole park? Alice did not react with surprise. She simply narrowed her eyes. She could see how it would have taken the whole day. It was no wonder Diddle Diddle, Banquet of the Night, was destroyed by the skin of sun. Still, something bothered Alice.
How in the world did you hide them all?
There were just so many. What kind of magecraft could do that?
Oh, these are special. These runes shift locations, they're doing it even now. What the hell? Okay. They look like simple scratches, but they return to their original form when they touch strong magical energy. You could call them memory runes. No matter how deep the night, these little suns won't set. The snow hid them beautifully.
She spoke modestly, but Alice could not have imagined the amount of persistence, technique, and skill it must have taken. And it only took a day. Even 10 mages would have trouble producing so many sophisticated runes in that time. Moreover, these runes were made using unknown techniques the Association had not approved.
It pains me to excuse me. It pains me to admit it, Toko. But that's a lot of power to use on one poor little girl.
Oh, please. I've never thought that about you. Though, there were times I admired that body of yours. To have one like that.
It happened in the blink of an eye. Alice cut off Toko's snide remark with a deadly stare. The left eye of the darkly clad girl changed in color to an ominous ruby. The speed of the incantation was phenomenal. Alice's mystic eye of enthralling snared Toko. She had been the one to, quite literally, be taken captive by the girl's stare. Toko tried to raise her arm, but could not even move a finger. Alice's mystic eye commanded absolute control with no room for resistance. only a person's internal organs were allowed the freedom to move. Since their organs still functioned, it was more precise to say that her eyes forbid the target from acting. Alice had played her hand with exquisite timing. It wasn't the speed of her eyes that had given her an edge. The deftness at which she wove her spells to exploit the briefest vulnerability is what made Alice a different caliber to other mages like Aoko. This witch, who lived hidden in the modern era, was more seasoned in magical battles than Toko Awazaki. This is Toko.
Oh, is it? Oh. Such a shame. Without diddle diddle, your eyes can't be made acrostic.
I think so.
It can't be. Oh, no. Yeah. English not my base. Sorry. You were close. With your moon ploy kickshaw, I might have been begging for mercy.
The formation holding Toko began to distort. In the blink of an eye, the mage had bested Alice's mystic eyes. Alice's black outfit fluttered in the wind. She turned so that she was not facing Toko head on. The mage had recovered through her own mystic eyes. At the root of Toko's mystic eyes was a spell of mesmerize. Most effective when facing their prey, such eyes could mind-jack a target's awareness. It was difficult to resist head-on. However, its effect was greatly diminished if the target was not facing the eyes directly, even if it was within range. Moreover, the girl was the last witch of her lineage who commanded a great number of fairy tales. Against mystic eyes that projected their effects, simply turning one's body was enough to repel half of the magical energy. Like Alice's eyes, Toko's could also disable actions. Alice had escaped by the skin of her teeth. The damage she suffered was the weight of a twig to a forest. She just had to let the energy pass through. In an instant, a starting chill ran through Alice's body. This was a problem. The touch of death ran up her spine. She glared at the mage before her, as blue rubber balls flowed out from beneath her overcoat. The stare-off grew more intense. Alice glared harder, resisting Toko's mystic eyes with her own. Losing was not an option. In the terms of raw magical energy, Alice's Kurunji's mystic eyes were more powerful and advanced than Toko's. Surely nobody could beat her. And yet, her unfiltered stock of magical energy, stifled by old-fashioned values, was no match for Toko's madness. Deeper within her eyes, somehow, the eyes revealed a sealed power.
Whee!
Inside the crystalline lens of the mage's left iris was a bottomless pit, a Klein cube. Alice winced in pain. The bindings grew in number. So many mystic eyes, thousands perhaps, and all fixed on Alice. Pressure. So much pressure. Endless, and Alice knew it. She saw, incredulously, she saw eyes growing within eyes. Toko had placed opposing mirrors inside her eyes, resulting in an infinite glare. It was the act of a madwoman, creating mystic eyes within mystic eyes. She could even control the resultant chaos caused by all the copies. Her insanity knew no bounds. No mage in their right mind would mass produce so many mystics, the last escape of humankind, so indiscriminately.
Oh dear. Am I making you uncomfortable? Tell me. Am I doing a job of imitating a minster? Aren't you impressed? Instead of bending reality using a rare mystic like you would, I mass-produce a mystic to bend reality to my will. On their surface, they're regular mystic eyes, only their volume is infinite. No matter how much magical energy an opponent uses to resist them, they'll simply multiply the energy needed to bind them.
She wielded power without limit to disable an opponent. Once one was caught in them, one was changed to the concept of infinity. Gojo? Projection type eyes had a fatal flaw. Their firepower and formulae were insignificant compared to the great artillery of incanted spells. But Toko had torn down that conventional wisdom with brute strength. If the gun was a pea shooter, she simply needed to bring more guns. A 9mm bullet could never destroy a fortress, unless one threw a fortress's mass of bullets at it. The principle was brutishly simple, but in the world of magecraft where concepts decided supremacy, Toko's iterative mystic eyes were the perfect weapon. The target would be bound until she closed her eyes. In theory, at least, the effects were infinite. No amount of magical energy could ever overcome it, so it was utterly futile to resist using magical energy.
So what if she needs to like blink or something?
Well, sucks for her.
No blinking.
Erase her head from My Hero Academia. Of course, one way to counter it would be to stay out of Toko's line of sight to begin with. The standard tactic against Mystic Eyes was to defeat the user before they were aware of you. There was, however, another way. It was simpler than one might think.
I'm afraid this is checkmate. Any last words?
Alice could no longer see her enemy. Toko's infinite eyes had bound her. All she could make out was a sliver of moonlight, and a blue streak tracing its way towards her.
Fine. I wish I could say I had no regrets like you.
She drew a rune in the air, unleashing a shockwave to tear flesh asunder. The gust became blades of air that shredded Alice's overcoat and minced. Blue feathers flitted around all around. Toko felt something behind her and turned. 5 cat-shaped bells were thrown at her feet. And just as quickly as they shattered to pieces, standing before her was a completely unharmed Alice Kuonji.
That rune was but a light breeze. But you really lost your touch, Toko.
You used a double. I never heard of a ploy that can take the form of a mage.
Well, you have now. He's useless every other day of the year, but comes in handy when someone's trying to kill you.
I'm pretty sure that was Robin, the bluebird.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
As if responding to Alice's words, a bird began chirping frantically. Random trivia. For whatever reason, they decided to the bird doesn't actually talk, but you can do like little mini stories revolving around him.
Yeah.
And the way they localize his internal voice is to be like a Scottish dude.
What?
Yeah, it's the most random choice, but now every time I see him, I just think of him like, "Ah, Latin, what the fuck are you doing? This woman trying to kill me?"
Grace me up, woman.
Dear Lord. This poor thing, man.
An anonymous sacrifice. Who killed Cock Robin echoed into the night, sung out of tune.
That old rhyme. But you can only kill it once. Not that it wouldn't matter if it was more than that.
The bird squawked a very unbird-like death throw. From behind Alice, the blue robin fell from its tree, a victim of Toko's mystic eyes.
So useless.
She
Did his
abuses
best.
that poor robin.
Did his best. Oh dear.
I mean, based on how she treats Sojiro, I'm not surprised.
How about you and I start over? Or rather, let's end this now. You're out of options in this park.
I don't think so. Granted, I may not be able to break free of your eyes. But build it up with wood and clay, wood and clay, wood and clay. Build it up with wood and clay, my fair lady.
A song came from the depths of the earth, stirring a mighty quake to mark the birth of something gargantuan. Toko needed to throw Alice into an infinite hell before whatever that was could be completed. But she was far too late.
Wood and clay will wash away.
Oh my god, what is that?
The ground burst to life. A finger, then another, and another, all rising up like towers. Earth, snow, and brick knitted together, manifesting a giant stone golem.
What the hell is this? What's this freak doing here?
Toko was so angry and confused she could barely gather her thoughts. The bridge giant. The monster from Meinster's fairy tales rose from the ground, ruining Toko's plan. The giant was extremely powerful, but could only be summoned under one condition. It must be in proximity to a natural river. That was the monster's one and only condition. But this park was nowhere near one. And on top of that, it was rising up directly between Toko and Alice, mid-battle. That's Toko. Oh wait, no. That's Alice.
Oh, there's a river, all right. Well, I suppose river is a bit of an exaggeration. And it'll be gone soon.
Toko lowered her gaze. She was standing in a puddle of water.
Ah ha ha ha.
Ha.
We love a technicality.
The scarred red mage was dumbfounded. That was why Alice had used Diddle Diddle before. While the bells could be replenished, they were valuable to Alice. And she had spent 5, throwing them in an intentional line for the sun runes to destroy. From there,
A stream of melting snow?
the arms of the Thames troll rose up from the stone paving. The monster's torso alone surpassed 80 feet. Its form was made entirely of stone. Previously, she had created one using the trees of a forest. However, Toko knew instantly the monster before her was at least twice as powerful.
Halt!
She unleashed her stacked mystic eyes. They were meaningless at this stage. They had no effect on the giant.
Put her
As
eyes
said-
to something we can't see.
As said, mystic eyes can be countered in 2 ways. The first is to hide oneself from the view of a mage. That was the standard response. The other way, however, was devilishly simple, yet 100% effective. In fact, it's less of a way and more of a fact. Mystic eyes curse a target by focusing on them. However, what if the target was too large to focus on entirely?
I love this music, by the way.
Yeah, the
Very
game's
epic.
music it's always been god tier. The answer was one could barely stop a single arm. The giant, unfazed, raised his right arm and swung it down onto the ground, destroying thousands of runes.
Dang, all the hard work.
This game, I think, came out in like mid 2000s. Hold on, let me double check. But I bring that up because a little while back, Mega Cringe was saying like, "How is your game keeping up with this?" It's like, yeah, I mean, okay, no, not mid 2006. I was thinking a decade later. It came out in 2012, and with the 1050 that I had, it actually had a hard time dealing with the parallax animation.
Really?
Yeah, and honestly, it makes sense because it's pretty intensive, and I think it just also wasn't optimized very well. But you can tell like the animation is pretty darn good for like a visual novel.
Very nice.
For a visual novel, especially if it's built on a visual novel engine.
Like about 10 years ago too. That's really good.
Yeah. As the mage had said before, no matter how deep the night, these little suns won't set. While the suns might not set, they could be crushed under the bulk of a giant's hand. Let's switch it up now. Bonnie, if I could have you narrate. I will take over Alice, and then Aaron will take over Toko.
Okay.
Sure.
The victor of the battle was decided. Toko Aozaki closed her eyes and prepared to escape. The stray dogs began to whine, fearful of the hulking figure before them.
You win this one, Alice. Looks like I'm no match for a Mindster after all. Let's pick this up another time, shall we?
Do you really think you can escape, Toko?
Oh, please, Alice, give me some credit. I should mention, I don't think I'm the one who needs to escape.
There was no hint of bravado in Toko's tone. Even in the face of a titan she had no means of harming, her confidence was unshakable. The reasoning being,
The opening act's over. Come out, Bio.
Oh, shit.
this was no longer a battle of skill. A fight for survival had begun. Snap went Toko's fingers. In response, a beautiful high-pitched melody floated up toward the moon. It echoed all around them. The spiral howl dredged up ancient primal memories. Its source emerged from the shadows and landed next to the mage. Alice's lip trembled faintly. Not from fear, but with admiration once she recognized the creature before her. It was a majestic golden beast, beyond the domain of both magical and phantasmal, simply divine. It was a life that should have been passed from the world with the age of the gods. A mystic derived from human wisdom, preserved by thousands of generations of hidden tradition. A recreation of a miracle that once freely walked the earth, the natural enemy of magecraft, able to crush it with ease. Quiet resignation settled over Alice's face. The golden beast charged. This time, she didn't even have a chance to admit defeat. She could hear the beast breathing in her ear. It seems she had been unconscious for a short time. Alice opened her eyes and took a deep breath. Each cough sent pain shooting through her body. Blood rose from the pit of her stomach, and she spat it onto the cold ground. When her vision returned, she was able to make out the distant sky, falling snow, and the golden wolf. The wolf panted. It stared at Alice, saliva dripping from its mouth onto her cheek. Razor-sharp fangs lined its jaws. Its fur was glossier than that of any animal she had ever seen. Brutal, knife-like claws protruded from its massive blood-stained paws. And yet, it did not smell like a beast. Surely, the presence of such a noble creature, a human would feel like the lesser animal. The battle between Alice and the wolf was over before it had begun. After destroying the troll, it baptized Alice with its wicked claws, giving her no chance to escape. Its side swipe had torn into her abdomen like a sword, carving through her clothes and flesh, all the way to her heart. Even so, not once did Alice make a sound. The wolf had her pinned and stared at her face. Her limbs felt ready to break at any moment. That was the situation she found herself in. Now fully conscious, Alice stared at her enemy through the pained eyes. She felt no fear, only cold reality sinking in. Sensing Alice's demeanor, the wolf suddenly paused, its paw still raised. They looked into each other's eyes.
I'll do this one, and maybe I'll have Aaron play as Alice.
Oh, okay.
You're bleeding. Doesn't it hurt?
The wolf's voice came as a surprise, but there was no doubt it had spoken.
Or are you just fine with pain?
The wolf's voice sounded innocent, almost childlike. In complete contrast to what had happened up to that point, the wolf smiled. You gonna change it? You gonna change it?
Either way, you've got guts, lady.
The wolf opened its mouth wide and clamped its jaws around Alice's neck.
Bao!
Toko's tone was sharper than the wolf's fangs. The wolf froze.
Miss Toko.
He let go and slowly turned his head towards the voice.
Didn't I tell you not to finish her off? Are you trying to make extra work for me, you mutt?
But that's the best part. Well, this was a washout. And that troll went down like everything else. Talk about a disappointment.
The wolf backed away from Alice, as if no longer interested in its prey. To the golden beast, she was little more than an old shoe toy.
Conscious again, even with all that blood loss and broken bones? You're tough. Do I have the Meinster training to thank?
Barely clinging to life, Alice stared at Toko. But not a stare of hatred and defeat, but one of disbelief. Alice simply wondered why Toko had brought such a beast.
Pardon me. I should have introduced you. This is the last known werewolf on Earth. A pure-blood,
born to an indigenous tribe in the northern European tundra. As you can see, he's a golden mystic, and it doesn't do him justice to say he merely resembles his ancestors. He didn't have a name, so I called him Beowulf. Pretty apt, right?
I'll have you continue as Alice.
Beowulf.
Alice's face was perplexed, even though she hadn't wavered when she was disemboweled. Beowulf. The name of a heroic giant slayer from Danish legend. It came from Old English, a combination of honeybee and wild beast, a bear, in other words.
Kind of an incongruous name.
What do you mean? It's cute.
Perhaps because of the name, or because of the golden beads itself. Fighting the pain, Alice struggled to read Toko. In this respect, she was worse than Aoko.
Incidentally, Beo called those other mutts in. Naturally, I didn't think they'd have any effect on a Meinster's daughter. For now, at least.
Toko's mouth twisted into a grin. Not the warm one Sodril saw, but the merciless smile a victor displays to a loser. The disdain in Alice's eyes turned into anger. The golden mystic. How could Toko have brought such a creature into the human world?
Come now, it's just supply and demand. Depopulation is not just a human problem. Their old ways were unsustainable, and so I bought him for a high price. Well, more like I had to pay for the right to bring him out of his cave. As you might have guessed, I used my hair for the contract with Beo. I like to think of it as creating an alliance with a beast instead of creating a familiar.
While she was talking, Toko noticed something strange. An unusual sound. A preternatural sound that tore at the mind. A sound that should not have existed. And it was coming from the girl's open abdomen.
Regenerating already? No. Wait.
What's that smell? Smells like something amazing is going to happen.
Curious, Beowulf moved closer. Like a puppy examining a new toy.
Don't look at it. Stay over there, Beo. Pull yourself together.
Toko shooed the mud away with her hand. Beowulf lowered his head meekly and withdrew.
Can you imagine being able to say that with that attitude to something that just killed a witch that easily?
He's like,
Yeah.
"This is my dog. Go.
They
What are you
killed a
doing?"
80-foot stone giant.
Yeah.
I must have trained you wrong, going for a girl's belly like that. Shame on you.
So? But how come you're allowed to look?
Idiot! I'm a girl, so it's fine!
What is this?
Oh, okay. If Aoko had been here, she would have blasted them away with their impudence, just as she did against Flat Snark.
You know, I feel sorry for you. How could your Meinster mother call herself a parent when she's neglected you so much?
With her gloved hand, Toko ran her fingers along the wound on Alice's abdomen. A flash of pain ran through Alice's body. Alice had held in her screams, but she finally let out a long breath. She turned her face away in pain or shame.
The skin here's regenerating already. So many crests on the bones, veins, even the internal organs. Having magic circuits like that from birth is a double-edged sword. They cut incantation time, which is a great boon for a mage. But the more there are, the more pain they bring. Aozakis have crests in one arm. We've got nothing on you, do we?
The magic crests Toko referred to were the inheritance of the Aozaki family, passed down by their ancestors. They can only be inherited. Aoko had received the one that were meant for Toko.
However, ours has its own set of drawbacks.
The
Pain Aoko...
Oh, yep, sorry. No, my bad.
That's okay. Sometimes it's not clear when lines begin and end here. The way that the thing is formatted.
Mhm.
The pain Alco feels in her right arm is the remainder of her human body reacting to being changed into a mystic. Her mundane body rejects her right arm, and that pain is the cost of its deletion. It causes both physical and mental phantom pain, like some original sin that can never be wiped away. Still, when you've come this far, pain becomes trivial. It makes it difficult to know if you're really alive. Do you still believe you're human? Honestly, I sympathize. We've both had a hard time with such extraordinary teachers, haven't we, Alice?
Toko took Alice's body in her arms. The wounds from Beowulf had mostly healed. Even so, her breathing was shallow, likely due to the pain. Toko gently held the girl's face in her hand.
Excuse me. I'm indebted to your Minster mother, and my true opponent has only ever been Alco.
Yeah, I totally kiss my enemies too. On the lips like this.
Alice's lungs pinned for oxygen. Toko pressed her lips to hers. The young girl wriggled, trying to escape, but Toko held her firmly. Beneath the blue moon, the two remained frozen.
Oh, right. And it's freezing out right now, too, while this is happening.
That's snowing out there. Then, the sound of swallowing. Something solid slid down Alice's throat. With that, she went limp and her arm fell. After setting Alice down her side, Toko stood up.
I've given you a dose of my own blend of Rowan, not easily counteracted. If you use magical energy, it'll explode, so do be careful. Oh, and don't read too much into it. Passing things with my mouth is just something I like to do.
As she desperately clung to consciousness, Alice looked up at Toko from the ground. The disgrace from the kiss was greater than the pain she felt in her body.
That is definitely a Toko thing, knowing that she's inflicting more mental pain than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Toko began walking away, her golden wolf in tow. Neither looked back to see Alice's hateful glare.
I almost forgot. Remember those mutts Bayo called? There's a ton of them around the park. And unfortunately, they're still hungry.
What a terrifying thing to hear.
Bayo's an alpha male. Seeing what Bayo did to you must have really fired them up.
In a roundabout way, Toko had read Alice her last rites. In nature, it was common for the weak that could no longer move to offer their bodies up to feed the strong.
Well, Alice, I think that's everything. It's a long walk back, but hopefully you make it safely.
With a twisted grin, the mage headed into the darkness. As her footsteps faded, the sound of growls grew louder. Alice could still barely focus her eyes. The hounds looked like monsters out of a picture book. Alice took a deep breath, her consciousness slipping away. The sky was blue, the trees were tall, the park was a graveyard. In the corner of her eye, though, Alice could just about make out a solitary phone booth. The phone rang.
Oh.
It was the second time Sojiro had heard its voice echo through the cold foyer. Only a few minutes had passed since Alice called. He wondered what she could want this time. The call persisted, determined not to leave him to his thoughts.
Hello, Kuonji residents.
Oh.
I think this is Toko.
Oh, is that Sojiro I hear?
A cheery voice? Sojiro had been expecting Alice. It was Toko Awazaki. Somehow, Sojiro was not surprised.
Yes, it's me. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I didn't read the rest of the line.
It happens. Yes, it's me. How are you, Toko?
He checked the time. He thought it was about midnight by now. No matter what the situation, Sojiro always kept his cool. He could hear Toko trying to suppress a laugh. After taking a while to compose herself, she started talking again.
My apologies. It seems you have a penchant for catching people off guard. Anyway, to answer your question, I've been very busy today, trying to finish off everything.
Huh, now that's a coincidence. I was like, it was just talking about you.
I thought she might. At times like this, you can tell we're sisters. In fact, that's the only thing we ever had in common. Timing. Oh, I bet you tried to get her to stop as well. As an Alzaki, I know she didn't take to that too kindly. I wouldn't.
Sojiro realized she was probably right. Awazaki's words made more sense now.
Cutting to the chase, I don't have time to gossip. Is Alko there?
It almost sounded like she was worried about her sister's whereabouts. But the cool-headed Sojiro had not forgotten Toko was their enemy. Keeping Aoko and Alice in mind, he decided to be evasive.
Who can say? I'm not sure what answer you expect, Miss Toko.
The question shifted the tone of the conversation drastically. Sojiro could hear Toko muttering to herself in annoyance. Sojiro was proving more quick-witted than she had anticipated. A change of tact was required.
I suppose not giving me an answer is probably the best course of action. On first impressions, I thought I'd be wise not to ignore you, but now I don't think I want to get you involved. So, for your sake, stay out of this, okay, Sojiro?
Her warning came from the heart. Sojiro responded flatly, once again not giving any sign either way. It seems she wanted him to stay out of this too. Even Sojiro could tell the girls were being kind in their own way. Who asked for their kindness?
Yeah.
I'll say goodbye then. I'm much busier than you think. Hold on. No, that is Toko.
Alright. I'll say goodbye then. I'm much busier than you think. Although there is just one tiny thing. I know this is hardly fair, but I'd never forgive myself if I didn't tell you.
So I'll just have to put half of the responsibility on your shoulders.
Toko giggled. A laugh to show how he had a laugh to show she had him in the palm of her hand from the beginning.
I met Miss Konji a short while ago. She called you earlier, didn't she?
Her tone had not changed. She sounded as cordial as before. Even so, as soon as Sojiro heard Alice's name, a chill ran up his spine.
Well, right now, she's in bad shape. She can barely walk, in fact. And if she used any crests, they'll tear her to pieces. Oh, and those broken bones. Ouch. At any rate, she could lose consciousness at any time. Not great news with all those scary stray dogs around her. If you ask me, she has about 10 minutes before she's nothing but a pile of bones.
She spoke as if she was telling a joke.
Oh.
If it was a joke, it was in bad taste. However, Sojiro knew this was anything but. She was telling the truth. He had not heard of dogs attacking anyone in town, but the noise he heard while on the phone with Alice suddenly made sense. Dogs. A pack of them. No doubt about it. They were surrounding their prey. Why had he not caught on so sooner? What? What? Why have we not?
It's an uncommon turn of phrase, but yeah,
Oh,
that is what it means.
Jesus. Squeezing the receiver in his hand, Sojiro cursed himself. Alice had been calling for help. Even when backed into a corner, she had not wanted to involve Sojiro. Still, she needed help. The way she said his name so lightly.
Where is she?
He spoke abruptly. Even though he knew Toko was the enemy, he was confident she would answer him. That was the reason she called.
I can tell you, but just know that the moment I do, you become my enemy. Do we have a deal?
Sojiro realized what was happening. He was being tested. By ignoring Alice, he would be confirming that he did not want to get involved. But if he decided to save her...
Tell me, where is she?
Sojiro ignored Toko's question. Of course, he was not prepared to become her enemy, but he was even less prepared to let Alice die. He had lost his ability to think sensibly. Not that he was particularly good about that to begin with. Still, he would not waste any time in deliberation. He would simply go with his instincts. It was one of the few times he had felt pride since coming down from the mountains.
Okay. I'm a little disappointed. I didn't want to have to kill you. Then again, I thought it might end up this way. She's at Yashirogi Nature Park. Check the map under the phone. I bookmarked the page last time I was there. I'll say it again. You'll be lucky if you have 10 minutes. It'll be a miracle if she lasts a minute longer.
As he listened, Sojiro's expression turned to one of irritation. Misaki and Yashirogi were one station apart. How long would it take to get to the station from the mansion? Usually just under 12 minutes. By the time he got off the train at Yashirogi, nearly 30 minutes would have passed.
It looks close on the map, but transport links around here are terrible. You might be able to catch the last train, but you should cut your losses. Either way, you're my enemy now. Just don't regret your choice.
The line went dead. Sojiro, not Toko, had hung up the phone. He memorized the map and then made for the door. With no time to grab his coat, he ran out into the snowy winter night with the clothes on he had on. All that remained in the hall was the discarded map. It showed Misaki City. It was about 10 miles from the mansion to the nature park. 5 of you went in a straight line, but the streets were not that forgiving. 4 inches on the map, but so much farther in reality. For the first time, Soldier cursed the town.
And I think that is
But of
where
course, oh, go ahead, you first.
I was going to say. I think that might be where we end, but that depends if you guys are up to continue just a little while longer to see where this ends.
I'm cool. I'm cool.
Um, Depends how much longer it goes until it ends.
I honestly don't remember, so I'll leave the call up to you, Aaron.
Yeah, because I think I need to lay down soon.
Yeah, that's why I asked. Let's try it for a little bit, and then you can make the call in about like 5 to 10 minutes.
Sure.
All right.
You want to keep to the same, or you want to change it around?
Let's change it around. Let's have Aaron do the narration then, and that will make it a little bit easier for her to like call it as well. And then
Anyway, yeah.
I'll have Bonnie play as Alice when she shows up.
Sure.
Okay.
Also, I was gonna say, we saw earlier that Sojiro has super speed.
That's true. With the way that he was cleaning up the freaking yard, God.
He can make
he
it.
make it? But can he make it?
He's also a mountain man. He can get over rough terrain.
All right, let's see.
All right. Alice's injuries were not limited to her abdomen. The wolf had punched a hole straight through to her back. Jesus.
Oh,
Crushing her lower vertebrae and leaving both of her legs paralyzed. Though her magic crests were repairing the damage, it would likely take another hour before recovery. At the very least, her heart and slender arms still worked. Although, after crawling along the ground to the phone booth, those too were failing her. As the crests healed her wounds, a searing heat ran through her body that threatened to overwhelm her. It was as if her body was no longer her own, like she was transforming into another creature. The poison throbbing through her open wounds hurt emotionally more than physically. She was used to pain, but she could not accept this disquieting feeling. Not that she had any intention to. The moment she did it would be her last. Alice wrestled with the discomfort from her abdomen and her magic crests. And with her consciousness holding on by a thread, she took the phone in her hand. It was unlikely Alko would be there to pick up. Even so, with the stray dogs gathering around the booth, she had to try. It was Sojiro who picked up. Alice knew she was better off just hanging up, but his name slipped out of her mouth. After pausing and fighting with herself for some time, an image of the innocent boy came to mind, and she hung up. Her instincts had won out. She could not let him get involved. And not just because he was an innocent bystander. It was more than that. To Alice, Sojiro appeared that day because he was merely in the wrong place at the wrong time. Only the lightest of breaths passed her lips. Above her, the moon began to blur. Snow was falling again, so close, yet so far. The dogs began hurling themselves at the phone booth to the chorus of hungry snarls. Thunk, thunk. She took one last deep breath and closed her eyes. Glass, an unusual material for a coffin. But the girl knew, in some corner of her mind, that she had made the right choice not to ask the boy for help. Some time passed. A peculiar sight came into view. A field of wildflowers. The clear sky was too blue. The flowers so numerous they made the field look barren.
The sight was so dazzlingly beautiful, she wished she could look away. This was probably all thanks to Father Winter. The cold wind carried a scent of a paradise far removed, untainted by man or beast. It was a glimpse of the fields beyond winter. One could be forgiven for thinking they were the afterlife. Come to think of it, she remembered how funerals were sad, yet always beautiful. She cried. She made an incongruous whine, a sound of life. Her breathing was strained and erratic. Hollow and useless was the heart that she once used to fend off pain. It was as though she was in the space between disconnected body and mind. A crying woman and a silent child. High was the sky, deep was the forest, unmoving were the people. No footsteps or voices of salvation came. Who was that looking innocently up at the sky in the stillness? When she came to, Alice was going up a familiar hill. The cold night air had all but frozen her hands or feet. She shook, as you would expect from someone whose abdomen had been torn apart.
Shizuki?
She could barely comprehend that she was being carried slowly up Shiroinuzuka. Sojiro had Alice on his back and was silently ascending the slope. His calm eyes seemed to be suffering from the bitter cold. He did not seem to be dressed for the time of year. Not even a coat. His exposed neck and hands were ice cold.
What are you doing here?
Alice asked, still slumped over his frame. She tried to move, but to no avail. The last thing she wanted was to rest her entire weight on someone else.
Toko called me. She said you were in trouble. You're more stubborn than Aozaki, you know. Why didn't you ask me for help? Not that I could be much help, but still.
Sojiro spoke with a scolding tone, his eyes kept firmly ahead. His words were directed at himself rather than the girl on his back.
This doesn't concern you.
Maybe you're right. But now it does. We'll talk more back at the house.
Sojiro focused on climbing the hill. The slope would get steeper from here to the mansion. The thought of Sojiro climbing this steep hill with her on his back surprised Alice.
Let me down. I'm fine.
Your whole stomach's exposed. My back will keep you warm. Don't worry. You're lighter than firewood, so this is a cinch. I'm only out of breath from rushing to the park. Not that I needed to hurry in the end.
Why not?
As soon as I got there, the dogs ran for the hills. I'm sure Toko knew that would happen all along. She must not have meant to finish you off, which means I wasn't on a time limit. I suppose I should be thankful for small mercies.
Sojiro said dejectedly. But he was wrong. While Toko did not want to kill Alice per se, she would not have cared if she had died. At least that was the way Alice saw it. She did not know how long it took Sojiro to get to the park. But if he had not come, the phone booth would have collapsed, and she would be dead. Alice did her best to suppress her thoughts and feelings. She felt silly at the thought of correcting him, and it would matter little anyway. The thought of her trying to thank him was more painful than her open wounds.
This prideful girl, Christ.
I know.
So you carried me all the way from the park.
Had to. The train stopped running. Should have gotten a taxi, but didn't bring my wallet. Honestly, I've never felt how limiting money was until today.
For the first time today, Sojiro let out a sigh. There was no point taking a break. He had already traveled close to 6 miles like this.
Christ almighty.
Boy! Perhaps the fatigue was getting to him. Sojiro was more upset with his own weakness than the difficulty of the trek.
Don't you mean how important money is?
What I mean is, if there's something you can use only if you have money, isn't that incredibly limiting?
Yeah. The innocence of his question made Alice briefly forget her pain. She too felt distant from the real world. But compared to the boy carrying her, she felt like a regular citizen.
This boy's strong, Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like you to say.
Alice smiled to herself. As Alice rested her head, something soft touched her cheek. The collar Alco had given him.
Once we get back, you should change and clean up. When you're ready, we could talk in the drawing room. Toko sees me as her enemy now too.
With those words hanging in the air, they reached the top of the hill. The gate in the woods stood before them. Beyond it, illuminated by the pale moonlight, stood the mansion. Looking up at it, the girl felt a little disappointed. A natural reaction, yet she could not place where her sadness was coming from. Once they entered the mansion, Alice slid off Sojiro's back and walked toward the west wing.
I was just going to ask, do you want to stop here? Because I think this is a good enough point to end it off.
Does a good deal more of the scene happen at the house?
I have a feeling it might go on for another 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I should wrap up and get ready for bed for work tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a little bit more important. So yeah, we will call it here for now. But
Yeah.
Yahoo!
yeah. So as a first timer,
Thanks for reading
Bonnie,
with us, Kurotsuki.
yeah,
Yeah.
how are you enjoying it so far? You got to see the more intense part of the story rather than the slice of life parts.
It's still, I mean, look, if it's gonna be like Takeuchi, and like this kind of, was it the series was, with like alongside Fate and Tsukihime, I kind of expected it, so it was really nice, honestly.
Yeah, you'll have to definitely like play the game yourself. I know for a fact you'll enjoy it. The music is fantastic.
Yeah.
Um,
I think I watched some of you guys streaming this before you picked back up again, so I remember a little bit before this.
Oh, nice.
They are also coming out, I think, with a movie of the game. So
Now they finally put out a teaser for it.
Is it
Mhm.
Ufotable?
yeah, it is.
Let's go!
With that said, thank you everyone who's been here to hang out and watch. I am just probably going to go ahead and just call it from there so that I can work on some edits. But thank you everyone for coming by. Thank you Aaron for accompanying me. Thank you Kurotsuki for the on the spot call.
Nah, it's cool. It's fun. Just hit me up anytime. Songs at home.
Definitely. With that said, we will be ending the stream. Thank you everyone for coming by, and we'll try to continue on again next week.